how do we honor and just admire students who are like, their talent goes so much further than this math worksheet would ever show? And how do we help them use that talent for amazing opportunities in their future while also making sure we hold them to high expectations?
As a male educator at your school site, it can get lonely. Only 23% of K-12 educators in America are male. And just think about what this gender gap means for your male students. They experience disproportionate levels of discipline. This is a show for male educators who want to feel more understood by their community and want to create emotionally safe classrooms and schools for the next generation of male students. Welcome to Unmasking with Male Educators.
Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to Talking with Male Educators. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm excited to be in this reflection conversation with you today. Today, I'm reflecting on episode 22 with Justin Haas. Justin is an educator, an advocate. He is an organizer. One of the quotes from that episode, 22, we affectionately call that episode "For White Folks Who Teach in the Hood." Now, if you know, that title is a book by Chris Emdin, an educator who I admire, who I have got to meet once for sure, maybe twice. But just an educator who is doing amazing work, and he has some amazing writings about education and how do we transform education. But Justin Haas, as he talks about his work, being raised by two civil rights attorneys and becoming an educator himself when he was maybe on another path originally. One of the quotes from our conversation, he said this. He said, if you can act and model what type of person you want them to be, just talking about your students, that's going to be way better than teaching them about a person you want them to be. Kids are watching. The kids see everything. I don't know about you, for those of you who are educators or if your parents or wherever you're working, but for the educators out there and in these conversations with male educators, we have been uncovering what are the things that we do differently? What are the things that we do that may look different on the outside because we approach education from our own lenses? And when I heard not only that quote from Justin, but as he talked about making a space for young people in your room to recognize that, oh, I make mistakes too. I'm human too. I'm an educator, but yes, I'm the adult in the room. And yes, I have an emotional charge sometimes too. And how do I have these conversations with young people in a way that helps them recognize that I see them? That they're more to me than just a number or a line on a roll book or a box that I put a number in from their test on the score on their test or their homework assignment or whatever things I'm using to measure their abilities. You know, when I was an educator, there's lots of layers that I had to play. And as I think about this episode right here, I was trying to think, like, how many different hats am I trying to wear at the same time? Like, as I'm having this conversation to reflect on my episode with Justin, I'm having the podcaster hat as a person who listened really well to that episode, who listened to the conversation, who have notes all over the place from conversations with people. And how do we make sense of that as a podcaster to share this information out with the world? As a former educator, how do I make sense of the words that he shared in the stories he shared about relationship breakages and relationship strengthenings with students? As a former administrator, how do I make reflection on how I supported teachers who were doing amazing work in their class? How do I try to get those teachers to help teach other teachers? How do I have to try and coach teachers who you probably thought didn't really even want to be teachers, or were just doing it because they had to, or they couldn't retire yet? How many layers and hats do we wear? And so in this conversation, we talked about youth and students and relationships. There's a couple of things that came to mind. The one I'm going to start with is a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to Nashville, Tennessee. Everforward had a partnership with an organization in Nashville called The Fine Design. this partnership, I think I may have mentioned it once before, but it was a grant that we were both in a cohort for our grant. Kayla, I'm going to say Kayla. Kayla is a teacher I'm going to talk about soon. Sorry. The leader of that organization, the Fine Design, is Kara. Kara is an amazing woman doing amazing work with girls in the Nashville area. And we had talked about doing a partnership. There was an opportunity to do a partnership together, and we explored it. We had been talking about professional development for educators, and we came together to build, to create her team, our team. Like, they did the work of building a space for educators to do some healing, rejuvenation, restoration. And that event that happened in Nashville was been planned for months and months. And so, from our team here in Ever Forward, from her team, the Fine Design, from her community partners, because the first event was going to be in Nashville, they took the lead. The second event we planned will be somewhere here in the Bay Area, and that will be potentially later this year. But the Restore Ed project launched in Nashville. And in the beginning of the space, there was a beautiful table set up. There was educators coming into the room, having some breakfast, having some nourishment, having just a space that was curated for them. I remember one lady, when she walked in and she came into the gymnasium and we had used half of the gymnasium, she was like, "Oh yeah, I can feel it." And my camera wasn't running. I was taking pictures. So I'm like, trying to get her to say it again. Like, she walked in that room and she just felt like I could take a deep breath. Like, man, I took a day to go do some restoration. And how do we restore educators in that work? So as we kick off the day, the welcomes, the breakfast, the food, the tables, and people were mingling, we went around in introductions. One of the teachers who showed up, Kayla, was from a school, Antioch High School, where if you've been paying attention to education, you know that is one of the schools that recently had a school shooting. And you could just feel the heaviness. And because I knew that I was going to be able to see her in one of the sessions, we were splitting sessions. I was doing the 2 sessions for the day. I got to spend time with her during the second session to make space for her to take off the mask in a healthy way, in a safe way. And as she described her school now, months after this incident happened, she described that we still can't go in the cafeteria. So they have to have a makeshift cafeteria somewhere else, because you can't send kids who may be traumatized back into the building where trauma was induced. So I don't know what they're planning to do in the future, but the cafeteria has been closed. And it was a small thing, but such a huge thing that I didn't even think about, like how much extra are being carried by not only the teachers in that community, but the students who get up every day, get dressed, get their backpacks and walk or run or get a bike or get dropped off to school. How many of those students every day are replaying what that day was like? Maybe even not even students who were in the cafeteria when it happened. I'm talking about like students who just were now going to school wondering, is today going to be a good day? Is today going to be an okay day? I mean, I think that as a former math teacher, when I would have students who would come in my class who would not be focused on mathematics, I got it. It wasn't always something I was proud of. I wasn't always happy that they were doing other stuff. I wasn't actually excited that they were finding themselves distracted with other things. I wanted them to be focused on math. I wanted them to know that math is a gatekeeper. It's actually also an opportunity. It's a door opener if you get good at math. But even if you're not good at it, you need it to graduate. So if nothing else, just do it because you have to. You don't have to like math. I don't need you to become a math nerd. I just want you to do the stuff that you need to do so you get the credit so you can get out of high school. Because without this class, as an algebra teacher in California, you don't graduate high school if you don't pass algebra. So the number of speeches I've had with students to try and get them to do their work are numerous. There was no cell phones when I started teaching, so I don't have any recordings of these amazing speeches that I think I gave students. I mean, I think I was giving an amazing speech. They were all quiet, so or maybe they were just listening. or maybe they were just tuning me out, but they weren't on their cell phones because there was no cell phones in the school. So I think that all the ways that I wish that those days were back, I know we're never going back. We're never going back, that the influence that students are receiving are more than just from their community and maybe the local news station or maybe a couple of friends in the neighborhood. Like, the influences they're getting are coming from all over the world and at such a rapid pace that even sometimes adults are confused how to navigate it all. When this conversation, episode 22 with Justin, was talking about being the kind of teacher and a kind of educator you want your students to be, modeling that for them, that's sometimes hard work. What do you do when somebody disrespects you? Oh, I feel disrespected. Oh, do I disrespect you back? Well, I mean, I've had many lessons in my life that said, treat them like they treat you. But I've also had many lessons that says, I want to treat them like I want to be treated. Treat them like they want to be treated. And so I'm naming this scenario of me meeting Kayla and having that workshop with her and really letting her know that however our work, the Million Mask Movement, can support you in your school, can support making a space for them. She says, I'm like the mama. She's like, they come to my class. They want to spend time in my class. They hang out with my class at lunch. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's so beautiful. You've built trust with those students. They come there because they feel safe. They feel like it's a place that they can be seen, heard, understood. So important. Now, also what we are finding, what we continue to see, is that if we don't make space in education for educators to get rejuvenated, you sometimes would say, well, they got a weekend. I've heard people say stuff like this. I mean, I've heard people say some of the most ridiculous things who have no idea what happened in education. And many of them got a chance to feel a little bit of it during the pandemic, but they only felt a little bit of it. They felt that they had more responsibility to take care of their own children. I mean, come on. I mean, people were complaining that they had to be with their children all day. That's a whole nother conversation we can get into. People were confused at how much work it took to try and get your child to do this work that they were required to do. And we also experienced a level of education that sometimes was like, oh man, this is too much. There's 6 different classes. When are they supposed to get to the homework for all 6 classes? Well, that's just the way it's been. It's been like that for a long time. What are you talking about? You're at school all day and then you do your homework at night, and that's how it works. But then teachers had to modify because students weren't going to be on their computers all night after they were on the computer all day. So teachers were trying to create creative ways of getting all of it done in the same time. And how many different things did we experience? Are we still experiencing? Are young people now experiencing that we haven't never wanted to talk about, that we don't want to talk about? And so one of the things that was really exciting when I met Miss Kayla is I found out she was a math teacher. And as you know, I love math. And she showed me an image. I'm going to describe it to you because most of you can't see it, but I want to show it to you, those who are watching. And maybe I'll just I'll get it inserted here so you can see it in a really better way. But this is a piece of a drawing. You see this art? Look at this art. Look at this art. But if you look a little deeper behind the art, you'll see that this is actually a math ditto. See the math ditto? This is a math ditto. This is a student. And the title of this math ditto, this is one of those, I'll tell you the subject in a second. Actually, let me get my glasses here. It says, what is big, gray, and lives in California? Now, this is a teacher in Antioch High School in Nashville, Tennessee. She gave this worksheet to her student. Now, they're doing what? Volume of prisms. I think it's probably a geometry class. So volume of prisms. So it's like triangular prisms, rectangular prisms, octagonal prisms, like all kind of prisms, pyramid shapes, like all of it. And this student, instead of doing volumes of prisms, drew this amazing piece of art. Amazing. And the title said, what is big, gray, and lives in California? Now, I still don't know the answer to this riddle, but I do know that this came to me as a teacher in California. So when she sent it to me, I was just like taken aback. I'm like, wait, this is a beautiful piece of art. And as I zoomed in my eyes, I'm like, wait, this is a math worksheet. And then I zoomed in, I realized there's no math being done on this paper, but there's amazing talent being done on this paper. And I said, oh my goodness, like this is beautiful. And I said, you do know I'm from California, right? You do know I'm a math teacher. And then we made these deeper connections, right? And then I realized that this student on this used this connection as a mask. Their talent is art. In a math class that it seems like they either chose not to do, didn't want to do, ignored, or used as a piece of canvas for their art. And I was inspired. And I told this teacher, Miss Kayla, I said, look, tell that young man that I want to commission him to do a piece of art. I want to commission him to make a mask for the Million Mask movement. Like, this is actually the art. This is it. Like, it's a math worksheet with a mask drawn on top of it. Like, there's no better canvas to that, right? And maybe if you as an educator, you've seen a student who took your ditto worksheet and did something with it that you didn't want. Maybe they balled it up and threw it in the garbage. Maybe they drew a piece of art on it. Maybe they used it in a way that you weren't ever expecting it to be used. But when I saw this, I was like, yeah, absolutely. And how can we inspire students to say, hey, I did make an extra copy for you so you can actually do the math now. But how do we honor and just admire students who are like, their talent goes so much further than this math worksheet would ever show? And how do we help them use that talent for amazing opportunities in their future while also making sure we hold them to high expectations? And if I get mad, and I've definitely had a student on a test drawing and writing because they definitely weren't able to do the math. And I've probably found myself getting mad sometimes. I've been on a journey of education. Like, what are you doing? How are you going to deface this test? And realizing that they used the time wisely. They made the most of the time. They didn't start talking and goofing off. They just said, all right, I'm not going to work on this Pythagorean theorem thing, but I'm going to draw something on here. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to enjoy my time here. And how do we help them at the same time learn that, okay, your talents are there. Maybe not yet in math, but we're going to get there. But let's use these other talents you have to supplement it while you're on the working of getting better at math, because we got to do the math. I'm so excited about where we're heading next. These conversations about education, these conversations about school, the journey of education that I have been on for the last 21 years since Ever Forward Club started, is right now coming to an amazing place. Let me just close out this episode right here so I can just make this announcement, but I'm also making the announcement at the same time. So everything I just talked about today, this connection with students, this modeling for students, is being an educator that students can see themselves, at least as a person who is kind, respectful, caring, and maybe they don't like the subject you're in, but they at least will do what you ask them to do. They'll do their best to try. That's what we need more educators to do. And so in this episode, we're talking with male educators, episode 22. I encourage you to go listen to the episode with Justin Haas. And I think you're going to be inspired, and hopefully it will inspire you to share the episode with somebody else, with a teacher in your community, with an educator in your community, with an activist in your community who recognizes that, yes, I too can make a difference in my community. And maybe you're not called to become a teacher. Maybe you're not called to leave your career to go back to become a teacher, but maybe you're called to support a teacher. Maybe you're called to sponsor a school. Maybe you're called to find a nonprofit organization that you are willing to partner alongside and join their board or offer some volunteer hours. Like, whatever it is, please don't expect that our world is going to do it for us. If you're paying attention to what's happening right now, you will know that there's so many things every day that are distractions to our own well-being. They're pulling our attention all these other places. And they may be just happening in your own life. It may not even be what's happening politically out in the world. Maybe just like what's happening on the street, in the home, in the room that you reside in every night. I don't know what that is for you, but I encourage you to please make sure that you are giving yourself time to take a breath, rejuvenate, relax, and be restored. And so as I close this episode with episode 22, Reflection, I also want to tell you some good news. I am in the final stages. I think I've talked about this for long enough, but the cover just got finished yesterday. The back cover is also finished. This book that I've been talking about for a long time. We were trying to figure out the name of the book. We were talking about 20 years because it was going to come out last year. We were talking about 21 years because we missed the 20 and we're like, okay, 21 and you're an adult now for real. And then as I was talking to a friend, a colleague, but also another person in this nonprofit world, the name came to me. Like the book still didn't feel finished. Like it didn't feel like it was complete. And I'm clear why it didn't feel complete, because it's never going to be complete. This is episode 1. This is part 1 of the Diary of a Confused Educator. It is the book. It is the book that I've been writing for years. As a teacher who was so confused at what was happening in education and why education was not working well the way you think that it should work, how simple things were so complicated. The Diary of a Confused Educator has been a journey of mine. I would say probably before 2010, I think I went and found the first email that I emailed to myself as a confused educator. And I want to say it was 2009. But whenever you're hearing this message, I want you to know that right now, this book is available. You can go to our website. You can order it. We'll ship it to you. It's self-published. We don't have a publisher. We publish it ourselves. It is incomplete intentionally because it is a diary. And it's a diary of this journey of the last 21 years. It's an excerpt from different parts of that journey. And I'm excited that you get to be a part of it and walk along creating something in the world. And if you've been wondering, how do I make a difference in the education system that seems stuck, that seems unmovable, I encourage you to take the first step. That's what the book is about for educators, teachers, social entrepreneurs who are saying, I want to make a difference in education, but it feels impossible, because I can tell you, I know what that feels like. But every day we take one step. Every day we talk to another student. Every day we make a new flyer. Every day we do whatever it takes to make the lives of students better. You'll get there. I believe it. Along this journey of 21 years, there's been many days where I'm like, I'm done with this. But I encourage you to just know right now that you are a part of this movement with us. If you've listened to this episode, if you listening to this, even me tell you about this book coming out, you are a part of the journey in somehow. So however this found you, however you found us, I encourage you to stay involved and listen, get one of the books. Give one away to one of your teacher friends, to your educator friends, administrator friends, your social entrepreneur friends. Give it to someone who you think is looking to be inspired by doing hard stuff in a systems that sometimes doesn't seem they want to become better. The nonprofit industrial complex is not for the faint at heart. And I encourage you, if you are working in nonprofit work, thank you for the work you're doing. If you are an educator, teacher, parent, coach, if you're a mentor, thank you for the work you do to make the lives of our young people better. Because we can see there's plenty who are glad to make it worse. But we won't let them win. We won't let them win. So stay restored, refreshed, rejuvenated. Or if you're not right now, do that. Spend some time today in silence and quiet. Whatever the thing is for you, go for a walk in nature. Go listen to the ocean, watch the sunset, listen to some birds chirping. Whatever it is where you are, where you can find ways of restoring, please do it for yourself. We need you to be strong for this fight ahead. And thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Thank you for being a part of the Taking Off the Mask podcast, the Million Mask movement, the Talking with Male Educators. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you soon, folks. Take care. Bye now.